HOA yells at me for training guide dog and grilling, and then loses position on the board. Posted by Judas 697734. So to start the story, some background you need to know about me. I volunteer to train and raise service dogs. My fiance says clearly I have a look that says I am weak and I'm a pushover. I have constant encounters with Karens who are just not ready for my responses when they engage me. I have been in the military for 17 years when this happened, and I was responsible for managing over 130 service members. I'm anything but a pushover. I work with civilians, so I have cultivated a polite exterior because I was counseled for looking unapproachable and scary to civilian counterparts. The story, as I said, I raise service animals, so I fall under the ADA when it comes to regulations on where and what I can do with my puppy. We'll call him O. O is an amazingly behaved black lab of 6 months. I have cultivated a level of trust and obedience where I can leave him in a sit with other dogs around so long as I am in eyesight. He will stay. I have raised a few pups by then, and I would have never done that with them, but O is amazing, and I can't wait to get him back after his tour of duty helping Mrs. C be independent. I meet the HOA Karen one Saturday. Me, my fiance, and O were going to head on a road trip to visit my fiance's parents. In our preparation, the last on the list is always getting the kids to use the bathroom before a long trip. So we head out, O gets busy, and I grab a bag to clean it up. I put him in a sit stay and then hand the leash to my girl, and I start walking to the trash can. It's about 100 feet from where he went. I have a clear line of sight to the dog, and he is sitting pretty and alert and watching me intently for a hand cue or a voice command. As I am walking, I hear a womanly screech. I don't quite make it out, but it sounds angry. I ignore it and keep walking to the dumpster to deposit my waste bag and turn around to head back to my 2 favorite people. It is then I make eye contact with the HOA Karen. Karen from here on out. She is your typical Karen, not an inch over 5 feet and has the same circumference. The short chopped hair says that I'm the manager now. She looks me in the eyes and I finally listen to her shrill scream of, "Your dog must be on a leash and in your hand. My county state law says so and I will call the cops." Now, I don't do ignorant, and respect given is respect earned. I was willing to try and de-escalate. My fiance owns the condo and is super non-confrontational. So for her, I try to bring it back down to civil levels of discussion. In a polite but firm voice, I asked if she even looked over at the dog before she started yelling at me. She just bellows like a banshee again, and I repeat. This back and forth happens 3 or 4 times. Me calm, her escalating in pitch and volume. At this point, she hasn't given respect, so none is required to be given back. I break out my "you done screwed up" NCO to junior voice. It is loud, it's firm, and it clearly states that I'm done with your bullcrap, lady. I clearly tell her if she would have taken 2 seconds to look, she would see that the dog is sitting on a leash in someone's hands. She stops bellowing at me, looks, turns a bit red in the face, and then musters, "You could just say thank you." To which I curtly reply, "Shut the heck up and get out of my face." She waddled quickly off, tail tucked into the condo door. My next meeting with her was when I was grilling. The HOA states no charcoal grills and no smoking or barbecue. I was born in the north, but as a military brat, moved to the south since I was 2. There is a difference between barbecuing and grilling. Barbecue is 12 plus hours with coals or hardwood or wood smoking. Grilling is cooking meat on a grill instead of the stove. The HOA put out a reminder, no barbecuing on the premises and no coals. So I was like, awesome, get a small propane grill. It's not barbecue, but it's better than nothing. So I was out grilling and I hear the banshee cry all too familiar now. Again, she didn't come up to me and talk, she just started screaming. So I looked her right in the eye and with the same firm voice, Shut the heck up and go away. If you say one more word, I'll be the one calling the cops for harassment by an HOA member." She sputtered something about no grilling or open flames, and I told her to screw off, show me in writing by someone else other than her. She waddled off, and then I was approached by the HOA president with the HOA bylaws, and I sat down to read them, during which my fiance started a conversation with them about another issue that we were having with them. She was in the middle of having the state attorney's office ask some questions about activities that they were trying to force her into paying for. It wasn't going well for the HOA, and she took this opportunity to introduce herself. While she may be non-confrontational when it comes to small things, she will stand up for herself when it comes to it. Her introducing herself changed everyone's tone, and they became oh so polite. Karen tried to play the victim to her and say that I was mean and could use some manners when engaging with people. I loved my soon-to-be wife, and she let her paint her tale how she was a victim. When she finished, she looked her dead in the eyes and said, "You know, I was the one holding the leash, and I was standing right here when he was grilling, so nah, you got the same respect that you gave." She paled and faded to the back, and that's when the president of the HOA stepped in and told me that I can't have the grill and that I can be fined, and I needed to follow the rules of the HOA, or next time he'll be the one calling the cops. Well, President, roger that. It is my job to enforce regulations in the military. I spend hours reading instructions. Nothing pleases me more than when I can shove the black and white in a butthole's face at work to get my guys what they are owed, or to force them to do the job right. So, you want me to follow the rules? Copy that, buddy. So I began my research, and I found a few interesting things. First off, no HOA bylaw can be enforced if it is not in the state database. Next, this particular HOA's bylaws were last updated in 1994. It was 2016. They state that they follow my county's fire code, which follows NFPA. And finally, the gem, the exact latitude and longitude coordinates of the HOA's property lines. So I get a login for the state's database and print the HOA's bylaws. I print the NFPA, which states in a multifamily home you can store propane tanks no bigger than 2.7 liters, but they can total no more than 5.4 liters cumulatively. I go to Lowe's, I get a rope tape measure, and I get some stakes. I pull up Google Maps and mark that HOA boundary line on it. Lo and behold, what do I find? A drainage ditch that is city property not 10 feet from where I was grilling. So I take my coordinates, my stakes, and I go carefully mark off the section of city property. Now, for the revenge. I call the city and county fire departments and request a permit to grill on said city property. They said, go for it. I didn't need a permit for it. No one would care. I insisted, and they said, it's my $50. They issued and an event open flame, so with both permits it was $100, but I got permission from the city to grill there for 6 months. The next day at 0700 hours, I went to set up. I carefully measured so that I was at least 3 feet into the city property. I set up my cooler with enough meat and beer to grill till doomsday, and then I waited for the fireworks. It didn't take long for Karen to come screaming at me. I mean, I was 10 feet from the community pool and 3 feet from the sidewalk gazebo that led to the pool. I just hit record on my phone and politely told her that she has no need to yell and I am breaking no laws. She kept screaming about no grilling and how she is tired of me and she is going to get me arrested and kicked out if it's the last thing she does. She hasn't liked me since she saw me and has just been waiting to get me kicked out. Now that she knows which condo is mine, it's just a matter of time till she finds something. On and on. I guess me polite and showing zero fear was ticking her off, so she tried to come take my stuff. Big no-no. As she reached for my cooler, I broke out my NCO voice and told her if she so much as brushes a finger against my property, I would remove the offending body part with force if necessary. This sent her scurrying off again. About 20 minutes later, I see 2 cop cars pull up and Mr. HOA President himself. He is all chummy with the cops, and as they approach, I hear him say, "Yep, same guy. I already told him once before, he can't grill on the HOA grounds." He comes to a stop about 10 feet from me. 1 cop stays with him, and the other keeps walking up to me. I have a crap-eating grin on my face, and I can hardly wait for the conversation to happen. The cop is slightly off-put by my joyous face and my slight giggle when I ask, "What seems to be the problem, officer?" I get informed that I am in violation of the bylaws and have been warned once already, and I am going to receive a ticket for disturbing the peace for threatening the HOA when they were trying to enforce the rules, ticket for an illegal open flame, a ticket for illegal storage of flammable substances, on and on. The last was, if I didn't pack up, I would be arrested and removed. Now that he was done, I first handed him my permit from the city to grill. He took it, walked back to the president, and they discussed it for a moment, and then returned. He says, "You can't get a permit from the city to grill on private property." I then showed him the coordinates for the HOA and the Google Maps gridded drawing and my current GPS location. Mind you, I am smiling, handing sheet after sheet to him because the grid was not all on one sheet and had addendums. It took about 4 minutes to explain it to him. As I was about to hand him more, he held up a hand to stop me. He then asked how long I had planned this, with a smirk. Well, I told him, about a week. He gave me a look of disbelief, but moved on. He then asked me if I threatened Karen. I just played back the recording to him, and then at the end, he said, "Nothing seems out of place here. You are free to go." I stopped him and asked if I could file a complaint for HOA harassment through him. He said, no, that the city clerk office is the correct place, but he would document harassment by the 2 of them and file the report for me. In my state, it's illegal to be harassed by the HOA. It comes with jail of a few months, fines as high as $5,000, and immediate removal from the board, and the possibility of recovery of damages. I settled for them both being removed from the board instead of filing a complaint. I waved to Karen every day I grill or showed her my leash if I had O. Funny comment about a HOA. Says, a good HOA is a unicorn. We're not actually sure one exists, but there are rumors. Of course, it could just be a broken down old horse with a horn glued to its forehead, and you don't realize the truth until you've bought into it. Now this is a bit of revenge malicious compliance combination here, isn't it? Because the Karen jumps to conclusions as they are wont to do with the half a brain that they have and says that, oh, no leash, dog running, going crazy, and then OP says, oh, here is a leash. Now the grilling on the property I can see as being a danger, sure, but then OP takes it off the property. It is only just a small distance, but technically it is far enough. OP literally measures it out and finds out that he's in the clear, but he doesn't tell them because they now come and eat crow, marking their words, eating them too, and then finding out by the cops they can get them both taken off the board. Now my question in all of this is, was OP right to just toe that line and push those limits in this way to know and bring them in and lure them into this trap? Or was that the wrong way to approach it? Let me know what you think. D-Bag makes my life hard, so I ousted him for insurance fraud. Posted by Flying Donkey Dong 69. Here we go. A little over a year ago, I started working as an electrician with my dream company. I got good hours, $25 an hour, great coverage, and a crap ton of experience. My employer was a decent, family business kind of guy who always commended me on my work and understood whenever I needed to take time off, which I tried to limit to as little as possible. Yep, I was living the good working life. Until we hired Carl. Carl was a man's man, a big, beefy jock kind of dude who strived to be as manly as possible. Any guy who deviated from the path of manliness was relentlessly ridiculed and humiliated by Carl. Use gloves? Ridiculed. Hate spiders? Ridiculed. Pee sitting down because you're too lazy to stand and use a urinal? Ridiculed. This guy was an absolutely sickening sight to most guys on site, and I was one of, if not the most picked on guy. It seemed like that everything I did was an invitation for the guy to take a verbal dump on me. I brought it up to my employer, but Carl played the innocent card and somehow had people to help back him up on it. So the ridicule continued for a while until I had enough. This man was a thorn in my side for too long, so I wanted revenge. I didn't know how I'd do it, but I was determined to get this jerk back. Thankfully for me, Carl was a boaster, and he boasted about a lot of stuff that he really shouldn't have. One such thing was the time that he got away with insurance fraud. As he tells it, his parents used to spoil him rotten. In his early 20s, they bought him a car and insured it for everything. I'm talking fire, theft, vandalism, the whole 9 yards. But the ungrateful brute wasn't happy with the car they got him. They would have none of his complaining, and he would have to deal with it until he ran the car into the ground. That was until his friend suggested the crazy idea of falsifying an insurance claim. He reported his car stolen, and it was found by the police 3 days later, burned out in a back lot. His insurance net him a decent sum of money, which he then used to buy a better car and fully insure it. He even boasted about how the insurance company, in full name, never caught him and how stupid they were. This was how I'd get back at him. I let a coworker who was also sick of Carl in on the plan. I would record him admitting to committing insurance fraud and send a copy of the recording to the police and the insurance firm. I bought a little recording device and hid it in my pocket during work. When Carl was in earshot, I started up a conversation with my coworker about how I'd used to get away with stealing candy bars from a corner store that I lived by when I was a kid. As soon as Carl heard me, he retorted with a, "Ha, that's nothing," which I took as my cue to start recording. The fool of a man blathered out everything and did a good job giving details. At the end of it all, just to seal the deal, I said, "Really, Carl last name, criminal extraordinaire, got away with insurance fraud?" With his arms folded in triumph and a smug look upon his face, he replied, "You're dang right, I'm smarter than I look, huh?" That night, I took my proof home and converted it into an audio file on my computer, and I used a burner email account to send it to the local police station and his insurance company. 3 days later, Carl didn't come to work. He didn't come in the next few days either. I eventually learned that he got arrested at home and is currently on unpaid leave from work. Now, he's not fired, but he's not receiving money either, so it's just as bad as being fired. So, not a super big revenge story with a climactic ending, but I'm definitely satisfied with the outcome. I mean, this story does qualify as pro because you literally put the guy on a suspended leave. It's funny because he's all high and mighty, like, "I know that I got away with this, I'm so proud of it," and he admits it. The people that he called stupid and foolish, he is actually the one that holds that badge of honor. It's not actually a badge of honor, but you know what I mean. Carl, you screwed up, man. You got too prideful and boastful in your experiences, and it all came crashing down on you like that house of cards that you probably built out of nothing, man. Way to go, OP. What do you think? I sued the HOA president because he stole and destroyed my truck, but I'm not even part of the HOA. Click the video on your screen. You don't want to miss the crazy fallout of this one, and I will see you there.